Welcome back to The Devil in Detail, the Grendel Reread podcast. I'm Eli.
I'm Ben. It's our 53rd episode, the big silent, or some say wordless, 9th issue of the Grendel ongoing series. Say silent or wordless, Eli?
Well, I think I'm going to say silent because there is a few words, and there's background signs, there's words to be had, so silence. It is not wordless.
Let's call it silent storytelling. Crazy into the nuts and bolts of lunacy.
Ends and B's.
Tell me about your week. What's going on creatively or otherwise?
This week I started on a new project, the new group project with the Image Grand Design creators. I put pen to pencil. I started my pages. I laid them out. I wrote the script. I did thumbnails, and I did my first page on my new Bristol boards and did everything, to size, which is not something I usually do. So that felt really good. I had to draw some starships, which I didn't really do very well at, and I had to use a second Bristol. I used like a Volkswagen bus basically as the model for it. So that was fun. Just working hard. That's about it. I spent all my time on that one project. The Ween Zine is at the printer. Wizard has probably grown to double the size of the original one now. Oh, amazing. I finished my interview with Bill Stout. Such a cool dude.
That's awesome.
Amazing. Got 6 pages from Brandon Graham. So cool.
What?
Ooh, yeah. 6 pages from Brandon Graham of comics, awesome. of his journal comics.
Wow.
And oh yes, this is a big thing. I got to read the new Bernie Moreau The Jam Super Turbo Color Injected Special from Hell #2. I got to preview and read that, and it is awesome. It's so fun. It's basically another wordless tale. It's mostly action, quiet, the jammers creeping around, following along with this crime. It's super cool. It's Bernie back. So I'm psyched about that. So that was it. That was my week. Always comicking. What about you, Ben? What you been up to?
Good. I almost hit my 5 pages of inks a week.
A day?
I did two spreads that I really like. Yeah, 5 pages a day. I'm sort of like my current page is the 15th page that I'm inking. It's not as sexy a page as the others. I'm drawing a lot of like grates, like sewer grates.
Oh yeah.
Which is like fun, but also just like I can't like the drafting part is just like such a pain in the neck, and it's Anyway, I'm doing that. Everything is good. Everything's good.
They can't all be zingers, I guess. Each page can't be so incredibly fun, but such is the comic.
I mean, here's the thing. I don't know anybody that mid-process on a page is like in love with what they're doing. There's always a point when like you get it when the inks are wrapped and you start getting into the tones, and I start doing the thing that I enjoy, which is kind of like shading it for form and stuff like that, where I'm like, oh, this is not coming out so bad, but I haven't hit that point yet.
There's the hump you go over when you're like, oh, okay, all right.
I did do the page that I just wrapped up is the one where you have to hold it up to the light so that stuff on the back will be rear projected through.
Oh, right. It's the girl's face real big.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how we're going to color that. I think it's going to be like a tie-dye thing where like on the front page with the face, we'll focus on reds, and then on the back, we'll focus on blues, so that when you do the rear projection, you'll get a purple effect.
Oh, sweet.
Something like that. That was the colorist will tell me what is and isn't the worst idea.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, that's creative comic booking, much like the creative comic book we're working on today.
There's more comic booking in this issue per capita than in any other issue of the series. Let's get into it. Devil's Legacy #9.
Yeah. Vivat Grendel. It's like the devil is my best friend. 100 rows with the pen to the 14.
end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter, my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in detail.
All right, we're back. The Devil in Detail. We're getting on this big, beautiful cover. Now the Panders. Okay, so straightforward here. I did a brief interview with the Panders last night in Insta Chat. It was awesome, man. They're so giving and awesome and cool. They're enjoying the cast. Huge shout out to the Panders. Huge shout out, Panders. Thank you so much for chatting with me last night. It's huge. I printed it out so that I'd be able to refer to it. But they gave us some of the inside dirt on creating this issue, what went into it, some of the differences. Now, before we started, Ben and I found there's color and page layout differences between the floppy, between the Dark Horse edition, and between the Devil's Legacy trade paperback. So just a lot of reworking and working on this one. So starting with the cover, they said this was one of the first ones that they did everything on: colors, inking, everything. So they inked, pencil,
crazy
color.
thing about this cover is that the front is not as exciting as the whole or the back.
Right.
Like the back has all this other, there's a lot of like subtext in this series. And when the covers do these montage compositions, it's sort of like, hey, this is what's really going on behind the curtain. So Dominic Riley is being strangled by these yellow, extension cords or whatever they are. And
Puppet.
we learn on the back that they're the strings of a marionette, and it looks like Argent is holding.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah,
that says a lot about COP and their bureaucracy and their willingness to give power positions to immortal, accursed werewolves.
And when you look at the Dark Horse cover too, it's one of the first ones that like took a cue from the Comico cover, because there's also the marionette handle for whatever, I don't know the exact term, but most of the other ones kind of went off.
It's like the Godfather hands. It's like the strings are
exactly.
Hand. It's funny because we'll often describe Matt's super wide figures as marionette. Maybe their wrists or their necks won't even be drawn. He'll go to Funky Town, as we put it. And then that's exactly what's going on with his little Dominic Riley marionette, is that it's designed in that, in that way, where the joints are all kind of negative spaced.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah. All right. So we opened the book, and I got to mention, Ben, I got to say here, first page ad for the Fish Police special by Steve Moncuse. Go fish. You ever read much Fish Police, Sid?
Fish Police makes me feel like I'm living in a simulation. When I think about how big Fish Police was, and I only see it like in Comico ads or in quarter bins or whatever, it astounds me that it was a cartoon and a Marvel book.
I know. I had no idea it was a Marvel book. I knew it was self-published, I think, then picked up by Comico. But the cartoon I hadn't even seen or heard anything of until just recently. And I've even been in like conversations about Fish Police, like at stores, at comic stores, where I'm like pulling them out and shit. And like, it's crazy. It's really cool.
Is it like Sam and Max, where it's like super funny and you have to get into it to sort of see that?
Well, I have numerous issues, Ben. Whether I've completed an issue remains to be seen, so I cannot answer that.
You like to look at the pictures?
I do. I bend them.
There you go.
I bend them. Bend them like Beckham.
You bend them, yeah.
Bend them like Granoff.
Let's look at the pictures. It's a comic. If I wanted to read words, I'd read a novel. And I do.
A lot.
I do read novels. I just like...
All right. Well,
okay, Fish Police.
Okay. All right. So here we go. Let's start in. I'm going to start with this piece I got from the Panders. So good. I asked first, like, how did you guys work with Matt on this one? What instructions were you given, and how much of an outline was there? The Panders answered with this. Hey there. Well, let's see. Basically, the outlines were steadily getting more loose up till this point, with Matt giving us quite a bit of narrative latitude to create the visual pacing. He would say, like, This interrogation scene needs to go for 3 pages with a few specific cues that were key to the story, and then we would just sort of do our own thing.
That sounds like a fucking amazing way to work.
Amazing. Yeah.
That sounds great.
I think he liked the unpredictable nature of what we did and trusted in our sensibilities and would then work from there. So when number 9 rolled around, it was just him guiding us through a series of actions that, again, would be left to us to widely interpret. It was like he just gave us an issue to really spread our wings or let us let our freak flag fly. Hell yeah. There's one page we actually created from the ground up and wrote, and he kept in the story where an innocent man is being mugged and beaten, but Riley is too rattled to do his job as a cop and runs away from the scene. He was broken by Grendel, and we'll get there. Okay, yeah. So cool. I mean, it seems that way, but then it also seems like such an amazing way to start. And as we said, this is basically this is silent storytelling. We can't say words because we start here and it says, and adds to the problem with Dominic Riley. And we open up on the Hotel Peru. And again, there's 3 different colorized versions. There's Tom Vincent's, there's Jeremy Cox's, and then, I mean, who did the coloring? Who did the recoloring for the...
Well, they're actually credited with the color in issue 9. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm confused. Okay, in the trade, they do the color.
Oh.
Tom Vincent, so this is going to be an editing nightmare for you. Tom Vincent does the floppy, and then the Panders do the trade. And it does sort of level up a little bit here and there. This opening splash of Hotel Peru is some real baby diarrhea. In
the Comico.
It's just does not look good. And then by the time you get to Jeremy Cox, it's just it looks great. Oh, wow. It looks like I don't want to say Blade Runner a million times, but that's sort of what it looks like to me.
It really, really levels up. It's crazy.
Yeah. Every version kind of gets tighter and tighter and tighter.
And okay.
I love the inset panel. This super graphic, Patrick Nagel, fashion illo of just Christine's eyes. It's very stylized, and both the Panders and Tom Vincent just throw this red blush across the entire thing, which they did a little bit in the last issue, and then I think that's sort of what helps the graphic nature of the panel, because when Jeremy Cox does it with all this cast shadow stuff, it kind of takes away from it a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Again, I like it. I like to see it as one of those, I envision it from the Ninja Gaiden game, when you see just the eyes and it's ding, 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 and they move across.
That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. So Dominic Riley is a SFPD COP off the grid lunatic.
Yeah.
Beating people, sweating out answers, and his father was a victim of Hunter Rose, which we don't know anything about. That's all we know. So it's left to our imaginations, like so many things in the cycle.
So I've got a little bit to talk about here about the way they draw Dominic Riley in this issue. It's different from the last issue. Here's what they said, number 1.
For sure.
I should also mention we used photo reference with a friend of ours playing Riley, so he would feel more realistic and like a real person that you might find sympathy for, even though he was a real bastard. They mentioned that, so number 9 lives in its own space apart from the rest of the series. We step out of Christine's hyper stylized aesthetic and enter Riley's gritty, noir, earthbound world. And they said shifting the viewpoint, and I said heightens the tension. So they drew him hyper realistic in a world of Funky Town, in a world populated by these wild mutants, where we see here on page 2, in the Comico, they're all purple. In the trade, they're all colored, and then in the Dark Horse, they're all colored separately. Now, there's another reason for this, and I'll get into that right now. Comico had an editorial, and I don't know if this is on Diana, I'm not sure, but someone at Comico told the Panders that, let me make sure. Okay. You will also note a difference between some of the background characters where it made things even weirder with mutants in outlandish situations, which were originally colored over and redrawn by Matt in the series. We explained that they were meant as a nightmare world that Riley now inhabited, where people were distortions of his subconscious mind. Ultimately, in the reissue, they removed those figures and allowed them in. We had another censorship issue in 11. But so you'll notice
that's really interesting, and we talked about that. The first time we started talking about that was in the scene in the McDonald's, where these like kind of mutant people are reflections of like the yuppie psyche or the crime noir,
the horrors around them.
So I just want to pat ourselves in the back for sussing that one out.
I'll point it out.
There's the fish man coming out of the sewer grate.
Oh yeah,
you see him? He's just like they just nixed his ass.
Oh wow, you're right.
Yeah, there's a lot of mutants.
And so some stuff they took out, and then some stuff they changed around. We'll point it out more when they get there, but it's mostly in these diner scenes that they took out, removed, or changed the characters. There's one major one we'll point out when we get there. But interesting.
This is exciting. I'm looking at the Dark Horse version for the very first time right now.
Nice. I read through my floppy, and I didn't even open the trade until you told me about it today. And then when I was chatting with the Panders, once they told me there was, bigger differences, I then went through the book with the Dark Horse, like looking at every panel, trying to see like what is exactly going on. And
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at page 2. He looks at his watch, and then there's the scene of the street, and then there's like a drone or something that kind of like fly, like you can see the glow of the tail.
Right.
That's just some kind of futuristic robot machine.
I guess so. Yeah, we don't get much elucidation on it for any of these, if that's the right word.
It's so funny how like some of these people look like they're stepping out of a mid-'80s punk scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like we don't like being born in the early 80s. We have no frame of reference for like this new wave era.
Yeah. For what it was really like to walk down the street of New York City or something.
It's just like we can look at it and be like, oh, that's what it's referencing. But like, and also the other thing is that like you and I are weird because like we're mid-late 30s deadheads, which is just like, which is a whole beast unto itself. So this like mod style thing, it's like I just take these people's word for it. It's right. It's just like something I never thought about before this content, basically.
Yeah, it's just really amazing to look at the differences. Like on the right, the punk guy has like red checkered pants with like white knockouts for the checkers. Weird. Yeah. And that's not, and then this guy on the left who's like got like a Sherlock pipe, he's got green skin in the Dark Horse, brown skin in the trade, and then he's just all this is great. Anyway, guys, I would
look at the COP. He's got a lightsaber instead of a whooping stick.
Oh wow.
That's crazy.
I feel like we could spend the entire cast on this. All right, but let's continue. So what's happening is he's being stalked. He comes into Sam's diner here. He orders a cheeseburger, no onions.
I think this thing flying is a stalking thing. I think this is one of Christine's little drones.
Oh, like it might be. Yeah. Like how's she keeping tabs on him so well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pictogram of the onion, no tomatoes, and fries is
love it.
I love it. There's more comicisms in this issue that, look at, there's one in the next page that I didn't even fully read until this time through, where he thinks he sees Christine in the mirror behind the bar from outside. There's a little dotted line of his line of sight.
Oh, in the next panel. Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. I didn't even notice it the first two times I read it. It was
he can't, he is just being stalked. He can't shake this like feeling over his shoulder. And so he continues, he eats his burger. He takes a shot. We're going to the next page. Page 4. And so then he's done. He throws his napkin, check. He's like, one more shot. He hits it. Okay, and so here's a big change. Page 4. In the Comico, we have sort of like a larger person and a smaller person. Okay? That was drawn by Matt.
Where's the larger person and smaller person?
Last 5th panel, page 4, as he's like waving out. He like takes a shot, slams it down.
Oh, yeah, those are clearly drawn by Matt.
Right. And so then and like dashed off. I don't, because obviously it wasn't like, hey, we've got a ton of time to do these.
I like that loose Matt style.
I like loose Matt too.
Yeah. But originally it's these horrid medical accident aliens.
Oh man. Yeah. One with one eye. Yeah. I see. He's like all wrapped up.
He's all bandaged up.
Yeah. Okay. So that was one time. That's the big one that I noticed. And when I was reading by myself, I looked at those two characters and I was like, to me, they don't fit, but then, and now we figured out why. It's almost like special edition. It's like
it is like
Star Wars special edition, where they added in CG people in the back.
When they describe this book as an urban psychodrama, that to me is the justification of why there are mutants, robots, and aliens. I think the problem is that there's mutants and robots scattered throughout the rest of the book. Like these from Brazil, these little robots that are bellhops or whatever it is. And so the waters are a little bit muddied, but I love these horrible, disgusting aliens that are just, people are paying no mind, and they're clearly reflections of Riley's POV.
And it's because I guess I could definitely see how it would seem confusing, like, what are there aliens now in this world? But like in retrospect, if you trust the reader to interpret it as like his exterior world is being influenced, is being crazed, it's kind of like the Fear and Loathing scene where he sees everyone as the lizards, so it's kind of like that. Whereas his exterior world is being influenced by the craziness inside of him.
Yeah. It's funny because the same thing is happening to COP, where they're becoming more paramilitary, more corporate,
paranoid.
There was that bit where on the cover of the last issue, he's wearing some of that paramilitary armor,
right?
Which is just like all these little things that are happening. He's like extra storytelling bits that are happening in the covers, where it's like, well, we may not have covered this idea in the interiors, but here it is on the cover, so take it and mix it into the brew.
Exactly. Like, and they're laying all these stepping stones for where the insane narrative is going to continue. Mm-hmm. All right. So next page, he's walking off. There's some hot coal roasted beef. He's still looking over his shoulder. The mutants around him. I guess it's just kind of like normal people, but then we kind of see the first action by Christine. Like, Christine is stalking him. That's for sure.
She has a little bit of supernatural ninja skill.
For sure. Like fading into the shadows.
I wanted to talk about the gutter that exists between panels 2 and 3. It's one panel, but the gutter strikes right through Riley's line of sight. Mm-hmm. It also casts shadows on all the other people and forms. Yes. It's like the gutters in the scene with last issue with Ginny and BLS. Oh, yeah. Where they were sort of alternating who would get cut off. This is a really cool, simple device that I will be lifting.
And like the two-way sign, cast shadow to his feet, cast shadow into the gutters. Love it.
Interesting. I also like this guy with the bow tie, this mutant. Mm-hmm. He looks like what's his name?
Dexter Poindexter.
Guzman.
Oh, Luis Guzman.
Luis Guzman, yeah, a little bit.
I thought he looked
Dexter
like
Poindexter from Revenge of the Nerds.
No, he was a singer in the 80s. Outsailing city, feeling hot, hot, hot.
Oh, I do know Buster Poindexter.
Yeah.
He was hot. He's
also, hot.
He's in a movie with.
He is. Tom Waits is in that one. I can't remember.
He must be in a bunch of movies. I'm sure he was a big.
He did do some 80s films, that's for sure.
He has a great. He would get excited like this.
Exactly.
Oh, what's the movie? It's a off-track betting movie with Richard Dreyfuss. called
I don't know.
Let It Ride.
Let It Ride.
I don't know why I remember that. But
Well, let's ride on into the next panel, next page, as Christine scoops some of these hot coals and puts them in his dang pocket, and he's like, "Ah-cha-cha, woo, woo, woo." And he's like, "Wait a second, what? What do I smell? I smell the burning and just more amazing smoke outside the gutters here." And as he's like sending all these hot coals out of his pocket, a dead raven smashes into the back of his head. Now, did you see the license plates on all these cars? Oh no way. Yeah, no.
now, I mean, I have to look at 3 different books every panel.
I know.
The coloring job that Jeremy Cox brings onto this page it's just so much better because it's little digital touches and a little bit of contrast, a little bit of atmosphere, airbrushed here and there. It just looks, it looks like Tom Vincent was super rushed because everything is just this kind of teal. It's a nice teal, you know, of the 164
colors
of colors. Like it's finally like you know, a pleasing color. And then, you know, in the trade, the Panders have a little bit more time to, you know, give individual colors, but Jeremy Cox kind of just like explodes everything. All right, cool.
And then so he gets hit with this bird. And on the next page here, we see he's like walking away, and he's like, you know, there's some amazing stuff going on in the background here. I guess none of it was taken out. It's all basically kept the same. But we have this person smashing their head into a
hydrant.
Oh yeah, a fire hydrant. We have like a little.
Oh no, he's getting kicked out of the bar.
Oh, I see. You're right.
Getting booted out of the bar. Then there's a Dom and her sub.
Yeah, and then they're in the next panel. They're making out on the ground.
Oh, that's too hard for me to see.
Oh yeah, and then he's walking. He's like, "What is going on? Like this is insanity around me." And then the sign, the neon sign, is cut on one side and flings around and just barely misses him. Yeah. Another panel that really jumps up with Jeremy Cox.
Yeah, I think that one thing that Jeremy Cox does is he puts the light source coming from the left so that vertical strip is lighter. But also there's these speed lines, and Tom Vincent is the only one who kind of leaves white negative space between them to get the motion flowing. I'll be honest, I had to, when I looked at this in Comico in the trade, it took me a minute to sort of figure out what was going on just because of that.
And I read the Comico first and I had no issues. Yeah. So it seems like he's just narrowly missing all these things, but like, you know, Christine is precise enough. She wouldn't miss, you know, so she's playing with him. She's toying with him. She's letting him just get out of the way enough to like live. And then she's psychologically tormenting him again. So here's this next beautiful, wide, big old, awesome spread. Right. He gets in a taxi and he's like, "Yo, get me out of here." And they're being followed by the Vindicator 9000 model of amazing car that Christine's driving.
This is a crazy layout.
It's insane.
Like one of the most frenetic and exciting and wild paneled double page spreads imaginable. There's a few of them in this issue, but
because I mean it's really like zig 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 zig.
Yeah, there's so much going on at once that like, and there's so much like panel breaking that it's almost like, yeah, I can tell you what order the panels go in, but you need to really like think about it.
And the color really helps you see like whose leg is whose and stuff, because you know, we've never seen his like, we don't see like much of his legs and his feet. I guess we do, but then
we saw his cleats in the last issue.
That's true. Yeah,
he had spikes in the bottom of his shoes, and here they are, toned down a little bit. This one just looks, it's really crazy. The Tom Vincent coloring is a little bit clearer than the Pander coloring to my eye. Just like there's a little bit of there's just like a few spots where there's just not enough contrast.
Yeah.
This is crazy. You know what I really like is I like the fog effect in the second panel when the cab lifts off. I drew that recently and I did not get it that good, so I'll be going back and
Panders, thank you.
yeah, thank you.
You've influenced us.
I literally drew that and I was like, I'm not really drawing this.
I don't like this right.
Now I know what it's supposed to look like.
So it's basically like he gets in the taxi. Christine falls behind in the Vindicator 9000. She planted a bomb. She texts that button, bloosh, no, doom, and the taxi blows up. He's thrown. No. This is inside. The car flips.
It's like too
smashes down. Yeah, it's like and lands upside down, and he kicks. He whams open the door. Man.
Yeah, what's going on with that one with the leg is that he's still inside the cab.
Right, but his leg is like...
Yeah, everything you see is the view out the window of the cab.
And I love the spirals of the thing through this effect, Kong, and that's like, oh man, it's great. Oh man, Jeremy Cox does it really cool because he has the gray of the smoke with like an orange kind of like flamey.
Yeah, it's a lot more readable.
This is so cool to look at three, like that there's really three fully different. Now, I don't know if it's really been this different between the trade because we haven't been looking at the trade every week.
I don't know if it's been this different.
Yeah, this one is very different.
Because I think that it was sort of understood that with all the mutants and aliens and that they were going, outside of like normal editorial parameters a little bit. So this one might always have kind of like an asterisk and a black spot depending on who you like. It's obviously like one of the best issues in the series,
right?
But from an editorial point of view, it's been a nightmare for 35 years.
All right, so next page, he stumbles out of this and he's like, I need to continue, riding on different, mobiles and different public transport. So he's going into the subway. Subculture rules. Please give to the artist. Don't defecate on the tracks. No stumbling. You see that on the signpost there by the bongo guy. Looks like most of these backgrounds stay the same. Amazing signs. Smoke till you chug, big guy. Young broker filters. Oral intoxication. Hey, man.
There's just like skulls and bones on the tracks already.
Oh yeah,
it's real. It's
the
real
money.
grimy.
Oh man, yeah. In the blacks, there's just like that basic cartoon bone. I love that. I feel like that's something that communicates a lot in a comic to be so easy. Like just that cartoon bone. Like cartoons always throw up a bone. I don't know if you ever noticed that, and like. Man, the train is so grimy and dirty. They kept the colors fairly similar on this one.
When he gets pushed by Christine, it's like it happens so quickly, and then you've got this huge panel of him about to get smushed by the train, and these Samaritans catch him, and you're okay. He gets on the train anyway.
He's just like, what is happening? And he fumbles onto the train and he sits down and he's just like as you would be like with your hand on your head, like how did I just cheat death like 5 times? He's just like, oh, and it's just like grinding on him while the lady next to him is reading Pain and Agony.
And she's a normal looking lady, it's and her book is just this like horrible, like aggression stuff. The inside of Chris's eye, Jeremy Cox does a really nice job kind of modeling that and bringing it to life a little bit more.
For sure.
Really nice.
Oh man, awesome. Next page. In the Comico, we get this crazy list of cartoon or comic book stores that were at the 1986 San Diego Trade Expo. It was fun going through those, seeing which of the California stores I've been to are still open. Pretty cool. Respect. All right, so then we continue and we're on the subway. And he's like getting off at his station and he's just like, this is crazy. Now, in the trade and in the Dark Horse, they add this like colored background, whereas in the Comico, we get this kind of like ink splatter on white stuff going on as like the descent into madness is getting like darker and grittier. And oh my God, he stumbles out and you see on his notepad that says Brian Lee S. Hotel, BLS Hotel. So he's like, where is he? So, you know, he's continuing he's trying to look at Brian Lee Sung. He's in New York. He's like surveilling Brian Lee Sung.
Yeah. With his Terminator vision. And then this is like kind of a new take on the Terminator vision, because it's got the static choppy lines in there that they look fucking great. And
a couple like little like things that are like maybe honing in.
Yeah.
I like these kids on panel 1. Like one of them has like a ray gun and one of them has like what looks like an iPhone now.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So he pulls out a fat old Blizzant, lights it up and starts to surveil Brian Lee Sung until he's okay. And then he's like, has like a giant face of this wild mutant junkie pulls up right on him. He's like, give me some guys, just give me the guys. Yeah. Fifth Element. And love it in the Pander colors and in the Dark Horse colors. He's got these like blue lips and this crazy bug eyes. Oh man, he's like, get off me, psycho. And then, but then, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice this. I didn't notice whose hand it was handing him 100 credits. Christine's hand. Baby. Christine paid him.
Yeah, she's a good Samaritan.
Cash on delivery though. Cash after.
I thought that she's just like, oh, Riley won't give this schmuck money, but I will. I'm a good person.
Man, I thought maybe she paid him to do that,
to do what? Just to mess with him?
Yeah, to freak him out. Like she was like, go jump on that dude, mess with him for a little while. I'll give you 100 credits. After though. And so just another, you know, him not in danger. It wouldn't be death, but it's like one more thing to like freak him out and just get him off his game.
Yeah.
Okay, so next page, Riley's stumbling into this alleyway. There's a spiral staircase up to the roof. And he looks up and bricks start to fall. And now here's one thing. In the Dark Horse, they had to cut out this brick that is breaking the panel border, panel 4 and 5, breaking the panel border and flying off page. I don't know. They had to put that page number there, I guess.
It's such a cartoony, it's one of many very cartoony effects in this issue.
Cartoony effects juxtaposed against the very realistic Riley in a way that is uncharacteristic for the rest of the series.
It's very like Bob Hoskins in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
That's right.
Very cool. Yeah, I really like this breaking the panel. I think this is supposed to be BLS's hotel, right?
Okay, like he's trying to sneak around.
He's trying to get back up in there and smack some more sense into Brian.
Yeah. It doesn't seem color matched. Like it seems like red in the previous page, and here it's blue, but it could just be because they're on the side of the building and it's shadowed. So as he's working his way up the stairs on the next page, you know, it's like Double Dare or the aggro crag as stuff is being thrown at him. A big jug of water crashes him in the head and he falls out. And he's like, "What is happening?"
That's a garbage can.
Oh yeah, that's right. In the Comico, it's blue.
A broken egg on him in the last panel.
Oh, you're right.
So he pulls out his crazy Blade Runner gun.
Mm-hmm. He's like, you know, he wants there to be something to pin this all on, but you know, he just starts blasting. He just starts firing away on the next page. Blam, blam, you know.
Oh, this is crazy. The colors on this one, they got to go to Tom Vincent. Tom Vincent has just like the most simple and exciting approach.
Yeah, and I didn't even notice what's happening in panel 1 there. Christine fires up an M80 and throws it to make him think like he's being fired at from a different way. And so they go off and then he's like, yeah, bah, 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 bah. And so just it's all being heightened, all the tension, all the craziness. Bang, 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 bang. That last panel, beautiful, beautiful. Bang, 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 bang. Fire, just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Next page, he's starting to run. He's like, run away. He's running away. He's blasting. Then he's like, wait a second, what? And then that's when we see Grendel. And so he kind of is like, it's almost like he's not firing the gun. He's like in a moment of like panic. He just kind of shoots the gun. It recoils. He doesn't seem to have like control over it.
He's not holding it in an intentional way. He's just like,
Right. He's like knee-jerk reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Then we get the Comico hype page, Comico blimp. They're talking about Diana has a great editorial about Harlan Ellison and his new book, Night and the Enemy, which I have.
Oh yeah, that's about the Earth Kaiba War by
Exactly.
Ken Stacy, right?
Yep. And then we see some more hype about Rio, which I got off Abe Books. It's not here yet, but I'm excited to see what happens. And so he's running, and he smashes, next page, he smashes into a display for, guess what? Grendel's the book, for Christine's book, Grendel, a new novel by author Christine Spar. And he's just like, I'm being tormented.
You don't want to talk about that? Is that not Devil by the Deed? Or is it a new book?
It says I guess it's got to be Devil by the Deed.
It says Grendel, a novel, a new book.
Oh yeah, a
So
novel.
So my guess is that it's intended to be Devil by the Deed.
I think so. Yeah.
But it's not.
Because you see there in the last panel where it says about the author, and it shows Christine Spar. It's basically the same photo from that last page of Devil by the Deed.
Sure.
And so he's just like, duh. And so he, in that last page where we see the Grendel face, we're made to think it's Christine, but it's actually like a standee or something in this display. And so he shot this window up, and he's like, and this panel 4, he's like fucking frantic. He's like sweating, and he's just like, ah.
Well, this is how his father died.
That's right. That's right.
Cat and mouse with Hunter Rose, and here he is to relive the biggest trauma of his life, presumably.
He continues running. He's at a fence post, and this is the page that the Panders were talking about.
Yeah.
That he that they created, and
I also feel like this scene isn't this scene in like Zack Snyder's Justice League, or I had such crazy deja vu reading this page because I feel like I've seen this scene last month somewhere.
I don't know.
I'm crazy.
Ben, the good kind of crazy.
The Tom Vincent coloring here is great. Look at that. Look at that. Yellow on green, magenta on purple. Where's this coloring been this whole series?
Yeah. It definitely adds mood. It adds a mood.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Where's this been?
They're clearly like in a dark, weird alley, but they fully visualize it in both the trade and in the Dark Horse. But like, I love these purple colors on these tufts and stuff, and this is where
who doesn't get off on the violent death of Stan Lee?
Is that what it looks? Oh, it does kind of look like Stan, yeah. So again, like the Panders mentioned, he sees this crime happening. He's a police officer who has never shied away from doing his duty or whatever.
Any opportunity to discharge his weapon.
Absolutely.
That's why he's here. Not interested.
And yet he's scared. He is too rattled, and he just runs away past this East Village I work. And he continues running, and he goes right into this open 24 hours quality pie. And here's where we see possibly the most changes of all.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the guy with the upside down face.
Well, okay, the guy with the upside down face, but also the guy who's your pilot Bob, whose plate, his head is on his plate in the trade and in the Dark Horse, but here they put it on his head.
Oh, weird.
Mm-hmm.
This is crazy.
Yep, Zigniv or whatever, the like Mario guy, is turned into like a upside down head face looking guy. She's eating this burger. Right behind her, there's this like carrot looking dude that was completely taken out, and there was like a guy eating added in there.
You can see. The carrot man is drawn by Matt. All right.
I didn't even notice. There's a guy. I love this guy playing cards underneath the counter, and then right below that, there's a guy sleeping, a kid sleeping. Maybe it's like that's like the child care of the waitress working or something. Yeah, so there's a lot of changes in this one, and you know, it's fully colored in the trade and fully colored in the Dark Horse, but everyone's green.
Yeah, you got these beautiful 8 panels, static camera playing at the bottom.
Yep, of him just like, you know, rattled and
this
drinking his coffee.
The stream of coffee on his refill is really crazy. It's like from 3 feet up. You know, in Dark Horse, it's so dark, it's so black that you can't really see what's going on.
True. Now one thing I noticed too is that, like, you know, at the beginning he was like starting his night off, he had some shots, he was like drinking and enjoying himself. Now he's like, I need coffee to like sober up. He's like, coffee black, you know, and you know, he's eating it up there, and and then so he chugs his coffee, 2 cups, and then he gets up to go. Another beautiful spread, and now this is where it starts getting freaking crazy. All right, so he's like, okay, he's like, I'm back, I'm okay. He's like checking the time, and then Christine comes from out of the shadows, grabs him from the neck, and as he's like, bah, 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 he's like trying to grab at his mask, he pulls out his gun. Christine just forks his fingers right off, and they stay in the gun as it falls down, and then she pegs him in the face with the blunt end of the fork. Yeah. Jeez.
I think that Tom Vincent has it here. The Funky Town cityscape. These ones where he's checking the watch, and then the analog airbrush on her mask in the second to last is like so bold and appealing. I love it.
Interesting color holds on the gun in the Dark Horse. It's like really kind of like blurry and white.
Oh, it's a sloppy airbrush.
Yeah.
It's just airbrush sitting on top of the layer. Let's get this done.
Yeah. All right. So now finally Grendel has interfered, has interacted, and he is on the ground, bloodied and bashed. And we see Christine's legs. We see his cut fingers just gushing blood. And he's like in a spotlight. Wow. Again, 3 amazing versions of this between each book.
Yeah. I think Jeremy Cox has it. The weird digital texture is I like it. It's kind of it kind of brings like a photographic element to it, where you're really thinking about, even though it's such a small amount of space, like foreground, midground, background does have kind of like a little bit of like Gaussian blur depth to it.
Yeah, and it really shows how different the Panders are using the details and the art style in this issue. Like the face is so very rendered, so much detail. The eyes on the Pander colors in the trade, beautiful, man. There's blues, oranges, purples.
That might be a plate misregistration.
Well, dude, it works. It's
because
awesome.
If you look at his hair, is there?
It's a little displaced,
you can see red on one side and blue on the other.
Yeah,
very cool.
Wow. So that just great. And then the next page, oh my gosh, very stylized, very like, you know, oh man, it's like it's like coming out of the book. Like, you know, we get this Grendel background, these Grendel heads background, and you know, you see the comic page kind of, oh my gosh, amazing.
It's like very ahead of it's like very Comic Zone for Sega Genesis.
Oh yeah, exactly. You know? Like we're panning back outside of, man, beautiful.
It's an interesting, you know, it's very interesting.
Well done.
Issue? That's the infamous mostly silent issue.
Ooh. Beautiful, man. Amazing work. Yeah, they say Jacob drew all the freakiest freaks, so he did the freak work. Let's see, what else did I not say that they say? Oh, I think okay. And I asked if they could tell me a little bit more about why the background characters were changed. She said the Panders say, I think at the time they thought we were taking it too far and it might take the reader out of the experience. We didn't even know they changed it until it saw print. And by the time we explained our reasoning behind them, it was already too late. It was nice and unexpected to see it reprinted in its original form. Yeah. So that's a super interesting, like a change, and very cool for us to have 3 different versions to kind of go through. Well done.
Yeah.
Very cool to talk to the Panders. They seem to be digging the cast, and I'm psyched to chat with them upcoming in a few issues.
Yeah, for sure. We're
On to
almost
issue 10 next week. We are going to have a special guest on the cast next week, which is going to be super fun. A fan of the cast, a friend of the cast, going to come on and chat a little bit about issue 10. Anything else, Ben? What you thinking?
I'm good. I'm sort of amazed that we're at the tail end of this volume.
Yeah.
It's been great. It's very gratifying to hear that. Panders, thank you for listening and enjoying. I'm sorry for all the terrible things I've said about your 35-year-old work, which I love. But it's been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun, and again, I'll say to see the roots of some of these panel breaking ideas that I thought of, but were actually referencing work that I read 10, 15 years ago that has lived, as they say, rent free in my head for so long. Amazing.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to break and use the gutters, and it's all on display here. And it's still ahead of its time.
Yeah.
35 years later.
Yeah. And they also mentioned that the way that they were let free in this issue helped them take it even further for Ginger Fox, which was the next thing they did for Comico. So go check Ginger Fox out. It's very cool. All right. Until next week, Vivat Grendel, and keep on Grendelin.
Take care.